From the beautiful campus of Casper College, it's time to dive into the world of Casper College athletics with another episode of the Casper College Coaches Show. Now here's your host, Phil Kohler.
Welcome, fans, to the Casper College Coaches Show. I'm your host, Phil Kohler, joined as always by the head coach of the Thunderbirds, Tom Parks. Coach, you guys get a couple of big wins this weekend, moved to 15-9 overall, 4-2 now in the conference, sitting in second place. How are you feeling about things?
I mean, I feel like we're heading in the right direction,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the biggest thing, and we've talked about it multiple times. Like, our goal's never been to beat one certain opponent. Our goal's been to be playing the best basketball that we can be playing, down the stretch as we head into the postseason in the second half of conference. So I think we're getting there. There's still a lot of stuff to clean up, but definitely exciting to pick up wins, and you sleep a little bit better at night.
Yeah, I can imagine.
For
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. So let's start with last Thursday. You guys beat LCCC 101-94. You have 6 different guys in double figures. Jimma leads the way with 23. Talk about just that team effort that you got from the guys last Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the fun part about this group is you never know whose night it's going to be, and it could be a lot of different guys' nights. But Jim has made some incredible strides since coming here, and not that he didn't already have that talent. It's not like he made these huge, drastic changes in his game. He just kind of refined it and really took coaching and, just really turned the corner after not playing much early on in the year. And we knew he was talented, and this is kind of what we're hoping from him. But I think the biggest thing is our team really feeds guys like that. Like everyone on our team wants everyone to do well.
Yeah.
When Jimma started playing well, it took a lot of weight off of Abdul and Darius, and then all of a sudden Nate Sasser or Josh steps up, and it's almost like a relief because all right, well, if this guy's off, we can still figure out ways to score the basketball.
Yeah. Well, and then you guys are plus 11 on the boards. The janitor, Josh EJ, right? 14 of those rebounds, 7 blocks, 18 points. I know we talked about him last week, but he's definitely one of my favorite players just because of all the different things that he does.
Right.
I mean, what have you seen from him? I mean, especially it seems like on the defensive end, he continues to grow and get better with his timing.
Josh is just he just loves being who he is,
Yeah.
Both off the court and on the court. But I'm glad you said that about him being one of your favorite guys because I think, fast forward to Saturday, he obviously had a really impressive sequence, and he came in the locker room and he was so excited, and I was walking in with him, and he's kind of giddy, and I'm like, what is going on with this dude? And he's like, coach, some kid just came up to me and told me that I'm their favorite player. That never happens, coach.
Yeah.
No one ever tells me I'm their favorite player. And I think it's just nice that, the crowd and fans and, people that come to the games and support us or watch us online, I've gotten so many compliments about him. And again, he doesn't always do the glorious work and things like that. But to him, it is he loves blocking shots and rebounding. And it's a huge part of our defense, for sure.
Well, and Coach Canary and I on the last show were talking about these people in Casper that come out to the games. They love basketball, and they understand it, and they understand how important it is to have somebody that does a little bit of everything. And I feel like if there were a definition of Casper, it's people showing up, doing the job that they need to do, and doing it proudly, and it seems like that's what Josh does.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been a goal, too, and we've talked about it before, is just, Casper, Wyoming, the wind blows.
Yeah.
I found out it can get to -30, but people got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
No one can just be oh, it's snowing or the wind's blowing, I'm just going to take today off. If you're a school teacher, you got to go do that. If you're the person picking up all the garbage, you got to go do that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we're trying to embrace that as a team to be a gritty, tough-nosed team. And, other guys are further off from that and are getting to where we need to be. And then, Josh is right there, and that's just who he is.
Yeah, Right. Well, and so then moving on to Saturday, you guys beat Eastern Wyoming 101-90. You hold the leading scorer in the conference to just 8 points. It seems like your press, again, it's not really necessarily turning teams over a ton,
right.
But, man, it's really making other teams adjust to what you guys are doing. Is that kind of the goal?
Yeah, and just I hate scouting. I hate everyone does it. I do it. And so I just try to be a team that's difficult to scout. And I think when you have multiple presses, when you have an offense that's hard to scout because it's unpredictable, because it's a lot of motion, it's a lot of playing free, and you mix in a couple sets in there, it's like as a opponent, like what are you going to focus on?
Sure.
Maybe you're going to focus on the press break. And again, a lot of it is just to try to get teams discombobulated and in the wrong spot. So if they are going to run a play, like they got to shuffle and mix around, and then all of a sudden we got to guard for like 10 seconds, and at the same time, it's also to try to create tempo. And we're learning as a team that there's certain opponents, like we saw LCCC and Eastern, they were completely fine with playing fast, you know what I mean? And other teams, like I think we had a lot of success against Western because I don't think they want to play fast.
Right.
And, I'm excited to play Central again because I don't think they want to play fast. And so we still have to refine some things as a team, and maybe we press less against certain teams.
Sure.
Maybe we try to mix in some other defenses, but yeah, it's to try to create tempo, and we've been getting a lot of shot attempts.
And that's always the thing, right? Is making the adjustments.
Right.
But talk about being tough to scout and to guard. You have a guy like Kun Kwan who comes in, gets his first double of the year on Saturday. Malik Rebates comes in, adds 8 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. I feel like every time you and I sit down, we're talking about a different guy that has done something, whether it's scoring it, whether it's rebounding it, blocking shots, passing the ball. I mean, so many different guys are capable of being successful for you.
Yeah. Well, and it's honestly like the thing I probably dislike as a coach more than anything is your rotations off the bench and who you're going to play and when they're going to come out. And sometimes I go back on the box. Like this past game, I went back in the box where I'm like, Kuhn had 10 and 11 in 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoops, like I probably should have played the kid more, you know what I mean? And so, but there's a lot of that. And I mean, Rohan was sick on Saturday, didn't suit up, but he's another guy like 2 out of 3 last games. He came in and hit 2 threes, in really important times that we needed someone to step up and make shots. And so like, it's nice that guys are stepping up. And it's like, we talked about it last week. It's cool because you have someone like Kuhn be that efficient and that productive. The bench is going crazy. They're excited for him, right? They're not sitting here like, oh man, this dude's playing good and he's eating up my minutes. They're genuinely excited for the way he's playing. And it's nice. And it's nice to have guys like Reb who just, another guy kind of like Josh, he shows up and he does his job every time.
Well, and to your point on Kuhn, he's a guy that does it so quietly, it seems like. He comes in, he's not a guy that needs the ball in his hand a ton, but, all of a sudden you look up in the scoreboard and he's got 10 points, and it's all off of, offensive rebound putbacks, being in the right spot at the right time, just not a guy that needs the ball in his hands.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Coach, I mean, to that point, a total team effort, right? But you've got a guy, too, in a redshirt freshman in Parker Davis that really, even though he's not in uniform, he does so much to help your team. Talk about what those redshirt guys do for your team in practice on a daily basis, especially like a couple weeks ago when everybody's out sick.
Yeah, it's not easy being a redshirt. It's difficult in the sense that you've got to do everything you can to take advantage of the year to get better, but you're also the guy, like, if we're working on some offense, you might play defense in practice for an hour, you know what I'm saying? Which, there's very few people in the world that probably get excited to do some of those things. But, Parker's just been awesome when it comes to our culture, when it comes to work ethic. And honestly, like, he's a guy that can play. And I think people sometimes confuse, like, well, this kid's redshirting, so he's not ready. It's just when we got Parker, we knew we were overloaded at the guard spot. And he's been a guy, I mean, if he wasn't redshirting, he definitely would have played for us this year, in whatever capacity that is. But he would have saw the floor and he would have helped make shots maybe when other guys weren't. But he brings it every day. He does anything you ask. He does a ton of stuff off the court to help the guys, whether that's in the classroom or giving them rides. And again, it's kind of an unrewarding job sometimes, but he's never had a bad day. He's never came in and been upset about the role he's in. He's been excited to be a part of the team.
Well, we're going to get to know Parker just a little bit more as we go 94 feet. And I found out if he actually has to wear a red shirt when he's
That's a good question.
94 feet with Parker Davis. This is 94 feet with Parker Davis. Parker, you ready to go?
Yes, for sure. Let's go.
All right, question number 1. You're a red shirt on the team this year. Does that mean that you actually have to wear a red shirt around campus all the time?
No, you see right now I'm wearing a black shirt, but I do wear red shirts a lot. So.
All right, that boy. You're from Fort Collins now. Does it actually suck to be a CSU Ram?
No. CSU's on top forever. Sorry, Wyoming.
All right. Who's the nicest guy on the team?
I'm going to have to go with my boy Rohan for sure. He's definitely the nicest.
All right. Who is the messiest guy on the team?
My roommate Dre. His room's a disaster for sure.
All right, so being a redshirt guy, you're on the scout team quite a bit. Yeah. You have to emulate players from other teams. Who's the one guy that you feel like your game is molded off of in the NBA?
It's probably say like LeBron.
Come on, bro. Like, come on. Like, seriously, who?
Maybe like Klay Thompson because I'm just like a spot-up shooter. But.
Absolutely. This has been 94 Feet with Parker Davis. Welcome back, fans of the Casper College Coaches Show. Coach, you guys got a big one this week. You get the rematch with Western Wyoming. You're heading down there. First time you guys beat them 100-74, but again, I think we can both agree probably wasn't their best effort. This team is very capable of winning basketball games.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they've shown it all year long, even though they've been, in a slump of recent. I think they're 14-9. They've won, like I said, they've beat some really good opponents, and you go back and you watch that film. And it's interesting when you're in it. You're like, oh man, we're playing so good, and then you realize like, dang, I think we got every single call we wanted.
Yeah.
Every shot went in. It felt like, even watching it back, you're like, I don't know if we normally make that shot, but we made that one.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that like, that the game's going to be different.
Sure.
So that's kind of the challenge, is to keep guys motivated and understand that, yeah, you won big and you controlled pretty much the last 30 minutes of the game, but not every game is different, and you don't know how you're going to have to win this one. I know that one thing for sure is being on the road, we're going to have to defend.
Absolutely. Well, and you and I had the conversation after the last one. You guys are up 25 with 6-7 minutes left, and I still was watching you pace the sidelines, staring up at the scoreboard, because you know what that team's capable of the guys coming back. Coach, this week, first week that you guys only have one game this week. You've been playing 2 in a row the last couple of weeks. Does the preparation change just knowing that you just have the big one on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives us an opportunity to focus more on us and cleaning stuff up. So, like I said, I watched the film again, but more importantly, I watched the most recent stuff that we've played, the last 2 games that we talked about, and just really like, how can we improve as a team? Like, what commonalities are in all 3 of those games where, defensively we're giving up points, or offensively we're turning it over in situations, and just trying to find some common nuances. So like yesterday, we did all like half-court defense, and the guys, we did drills that we hadn't done for like 2.5 months, and I think it was actually guys were excited and bought in, and it was a little bit fresh, doing something different, and that's kind of the unique thing about this group is they just, they like certain things a certain way, but I've never had an issue with like, today we're doing a toughness drill, and we're going to take charges and we're going to rebound, and they've been like, all right, coach, like let's do it, and so. They were pretty bought into yesterday, but we'll kind of, we'll also hopefully be able to manage, the load, and we're going to take a day off tomorrow to split up the week, and you don't always have the luxury to take a day off and to recover. So a big goal is like to go into Saturday fresh, but also to kind of fine tune some things that we've been struggling with.
Yeah. So Coach, this year you guys have played 2 different opponents twice already. You guys are just now starting the opportunity to play everybody in Region 9 for the second time. In those 2 games so far, you guys are 1-1. Talk about what the preparation's like for a team that you've already seen. Are you doing much adjusting to what they do, to what you guys do? What does that look like for you?
Well, I think you kind of got to be ready for anything, because it's a long week of preparation, and Western, it's a lot of, like I said, watching the previous game film, and then also watching some of Western's recent games to see if they're changing anything. And that's the thing with Western, like they have multiple things they can do. Yeah. So they've got multiple defenses. We saw, I think, a matchup 3-2. We saw a more traditional 3-2. We saw a 1-2-2. They probably have some other stuff that they can do. And so it's like, kind of like chess, like trying to think, okay, what is Coach Sosa going to try to, if I was him, what would I try to do? Without really overthinking at the same time. But, at the end of the day, I think just on the road and down the stretch, a lot of it is just, especially if a team that you've already beat, is like having your guys locked in and focused and not, and respecting the game, and you're respecting an opponent and not taking for granted. I think our guys know that Western Wyoming's a good team.
Right.
That we were locked in when we went into that game. But again, like it's going to be a different one. So just trying to like fine tune everything, really.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we're pretty much at the 3/4 point in the season here. We're just about done. We got a few weeks left. Up until this point, how would you grade what your team has done so far? If you were going to give them a grade, what's your grade for them, and why?
Well, if we're going into the 4th quarter, You know, we probably had some quarters where we're a C,
Okay, yeah.
and maybe some other ones were A.
Yeah.
So you know what? We're just going to average it out to a B.
I like it.
You know, I am not something that always comes easy, but I'm one thing I've been working on as coach is just being positive,
Sure.
you know, and realizing that like we're probably not going to go 30-0.
Sure.
You know, and we haven't. And I think coaches a lot of times overreact, you know, and at the end of the day, like I don't know if any loss is worth like my own mental health and struggles and not sleeping and gray hairs. And so just trying to be more positive. So, you know, B's me being positive because I think there's still a lot of room that we can grow. And I think we've been up and down, but I think, you know, average, especially putting a new team together, you know, and scrambling to find pieces that we liked. And then getting a group of returners on board to do something completely different and bringing a couple guys from State College of Florida. You know, I think it's been a little chaotic, but the beautiful thing is like they've remained together through everything. And I think people can see it too.
Sure. Well, and as an outsider, you know, the nice thing about watching you guys is it looks like you're trending in the right direction. So I would say if we were doing it currently, you guys are up to a B+.
Right, for sure.
And there's still a few weeks left for you guys to still get that A. And that's, you know, really exciting.
For sure.
So then looking overall again, what's something that you've been pleasantly surprised by with this group?
I mean, really just like how coachable they are. You know, it's interesting because every group's different and you know, you kind of have to motivate teams different ways.
Sure.
But I think they've been extremely coachable. You know, there's been games where our press, I guess, hasn't worked. But there's been reasons of why it hasn't worked. And instead of the guys just being, you know, not committed to the press, it's like, well, how can we figure out? And I think the other thing is this group has been resilient.
Yeah.
Like, we've had some tougher games. We've had some games we should have won. You know, we had some games that were heartbreakers down the stretch, and I feel like we've always responded.
Sure.
And that's all. Like, we haven't gone into this slump where, you know, we've lost multiple games and we haven't made the corrections. You know, we've always found a way to bounce back, and I think there's been very few times throughout this year that we've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of, you know, been refreshing as a coach. Is like we've made the changes and the adjustments to get better and improve.
Well, and I feel like that speaks to the character of the guys, right?
For
I mean,
sure.
that resiliency, not really something that you can teach. You either have it or you don't, and it seems like these guys have it, and it speaks to that character. So, Coach, last question for you. I know that there are so many people that have so much to do with what you guys are doing on a daily basis, and not just in games. You know, obviously there's the game day staff and things like that, but man, there are so many people behind the scenes that do so much to help your program. I wanted to give you just a chance to kind of give a thank you to those people that deserve that and that are helping so much.
You know, you gave me this question before, and I should have probably had like a notebook.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm going to forget people.
Of course.
But Casper is super special, and I can tell you that Deanna and myself walk this building in particular once a week, not because we need anything, but we just want to show face because there is a lot of people. I mean, the entire like financial aid department, Lori Johnstone, Anna Miller have been great with our guys. Mayla is like she's phenomenal. I mean, she probably needs to have her own show here because, I mean, she does so much for these international students.
Yeah.
You know, everyone in student life is awesome. You know, Megan at the front desk. Joe keeps the cleanest, most like immaculate gym in the entire country.
Cool.
You won't find a fingerprint on the window. You won't find a piece of dust on the floor, and he does it with so much pride. You know, all the bus drivers, Robin, Paul, Jennifer in concessions. I mean, everyone just plays their part, and I don't think people understand. Like, I was very fortunate in the previous situation I was in as a coach, and I was so happy. But all these people I just named, I was doing most of the things to coach basketball. And people just bend over backwards here. And I think it's, you know, I guess the final thank you, Darren, our president, is, and I want to call him Dr. Divine, but he, you know, he doesn't like it. And so I'm throwing in Dr. Divine in this because I just feel like from a respect standpoint, it's right. But Darren is the definition of a servant leader. Yeah. And I think what he embodies as the school president, it trickles down to everybody, because when we have a golf tournament and you see him loading up tables at 7 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning to take him to the golf tournament, like, he's the president. He doesn't have to do those things. He could show up and talk for 10 minutes, but he's here on campus at 6:30 in the morning setting up. He's working the concession stand when there's a line. He's doing whatever anybody needs, and he's the school president. And so I think as any employee here, like if he's willing to do all those things, no one else should be above anything, right? Because he's everybody's superior and everybody's boss. And so I think who he embodies as a leader just trickles down to everybody. And it just is an amazing place to work and amazing for our students. And I think this campus is so student forward. They care so much about the experience that students have, probably beyond anything else. Sure. That's what they care about. They want these students to be taken care of. They want to make sure they have the counselors they need, the nurse that they need, the advisors they need, and everyone just plays a incredible part in that.
Well, and what a great opportunity for these guys. You talk about them wanting to embody what Casper is, what Casper College is. And when you have all these people like that are doing so much for those guys, it's got to make it easy for them to want to embody that as well.
No, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Coach, 4 o'clock Saturday, you guys get Western Wyoming at Western Wyoming. You can find that game on the Western Wyoming YouTube channel. Make sure you tune in for that one because it's going to be a big one. Coach, hopefully next week we're here talking about another W for you guys, getting ready for that next week.
Absolutely.
All right, fans, remember to always shoot for the stars because even if you miss, there's always a chance for an offensive rebound.
Sweet. Appreciate you.
Yeah, great job. As always,